Hello, it's me. And just me because Tracy's stuck getting her education on. So I have with me the lovely Emma Battle. Welcome to another episode of Hair Mafia. We talk all things hair and a little bit of shit.
The only good thing to do.
Emma, introduce yourself. Where can we find you?
I am Emma Battle, and I am on Instagram at Emma Battle Hair. And this is my episode.
It is. So we talked about it, and this kind of happened like quicker than expected.
Yeah.
So that was fun. Do we want to give out some shout outs to your ugly ass husband?
Yeah. Well,
hey,
sure.
ugly boy, Chris Battle, brother from another mother. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you'll like that. Hey, Janet. Hey, Sherry. Hey, sissies.
And Doug.
Should we start off with that story about Doug?
Yes, that's a good one.
So me and Emma, which we'll get into, we met in hair school. And that's just a journey. Yeah. I led her astray.
No, you did not. You set me on the right path.
Well, I mean, it was rocky. But anyways, to get to the point of this story. So her dad's name is Pat. And she was like, oh, I want you to cut my dad's hair. And so in school, they have your list. And they're like, oh, Doug. And I'm like, yeah, I'm cutting Doug's hair today, dude. I'm going on and on. So she's like, who's Doug? I've gone half the day saying yeah, I'm cutting Doug's hair. She's like, why you keep talking about Doug? I was like, your dad. And she was like, his name is Patrick.
That's not my dad's name.
So
it's fine. Now he's Doug in our hearts.
Yeah, in our
minds.
Hearts.
Yeah.
Also, we have to talk about Cher Bear.
Oh, gosh.
Was it your graduation party? Was it your sister's?
She was so drunk. so drunk. Oh, my gosh. Embarrassing.
Do you want to start it off?
Sure.
Okay,
sure.
Tell the story.
We had a COVID graduation party. So it was in my parents' backyard. And my mom had drank way too much. And she was walking around with her phone. Will you take a picture? You take a picture of us?
But she was in the house and just out of nowhere,
yes.
Totally,
yes,
it didn't even look like somebody was taking a picture. And she goes, you want picture?
With no life behind those eyes.
Not focused.
None.
Lights on, nobody's home.
You want
and you go Mom. She also didn't care anything about your patio furniture.
No, she just spilled stuff on it. No, it was my rug.
Yes,
she was
that's what it was.
I don't care.
And you were like, Mom, if it was yours.
Right. Let's get real.
This is going to be such a fun walk down memory lane. They're going to be like, why did we tune in? Because it's fun.
Yeah.
Because you love us.
There's so many stories to unveil. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, yeah. But my favorite one, and honestly, let's start with this. What is it like being hairstylist to the family? Because we were literally, I feel like it happened at your graduation party. But your mom just casually, she's like, Emma,
yeah.
I think that I should have short hair. Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay. And she goes,
right now?
She goes, you want to cut it now? You go, no. She's like, oh. How often does that happen? Because I feel like once you found your footing doing hair, your sisters had almost every reasonable hair color under the sun.
Oh, yeah.
And red was...
At any random date, they could have it. Mm-hmm. Doing family hair, if you're a hairstylist, doing your family's hair is another level because they're so picky. It's also free for them. So they have no reason to be so picky. There's just nothing like doing your family's hair. So they're always like, okay, I can do this date, or this date. I'm like, oh, you can?
Yeah.
You can do that day. Oh, okay. Let me check my schedule.
Just a simple day of doing the bachelor. Well, since you're here, you want to color my hair? It's
right.
Because I have all the things.
Right. Because I have everything with me. Yeah. Let me just whip everything out.
Or when they hate it, they want you to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
When can you fix this?
Remember the first time I did my sister's hair at school? And she was crying. No. And so I had to call you and I was like, can we come over to your house and tone
yes.
it? Yeah.
That was fun. So I had a mini salon in the apartment I was at. And it was super cute. But at this point,
it was nice.
We had a towel on the floor and your sister was leaning over and just washing hair in the sink.
Yes. We had to do it though because she was bawling because her hair was yellow.
Yeah.
In reality, I did not know what I was doing fully, but you came to my rescue. Per usual.
I don't know what I did, but I had the facility.
You had the salon open.
You've had so many hair emergencies. And only a few that I know. But I remember one time you were sewing in extensions and you were like, AJ, nothing's open and I need a threader or a needle. You're like, it broke. And I was like, what?
No, beads. I needed beads. And I was desperate because it was so last minute. And so you yet again came to my rescue many times. And that's how our stories began half the time.
Yeah. So Let me take you down memory lane. This is how I remember meeting Emma.
Yeah.
Circa 2020. We are at our hair school and we love them so dearly now. But there are some things about it that we have to mention to give you a full picture. Like we had an honorary sibling called Little Brother, and it was the resident rat. And
Watch him grow up.
Yeah, we also caught him at one point, and somebody took him off the trap and let him go, and he had a family. Yeah, other things to mention is for some reason we didn't have a bathroom light, so they took, they hung upside down what is like a desk light with no shade. And an extension cord.
A lamp with no shade. There's
so many things. So, you know, for some reason we had a lot of students that were in high school, and it didn't like click to me that they were doing like online school like Epic or something of the sort. And so then we just see this beautiful put together girl. She's like this is how I remember you, in a black ball cap, like black tights, black top, and like a jacket, and you're just like minding your own business. And like I was like, oh, like honestly and true, I was like, oh, she's like she doesn't belong here, because I'm like, everybody just came looking busted. I mean, she doesn't think she came put together.
You never were.
I mean, I wore dingy t-shirts at best, but you know.
No, not even true.
And so I realized she had stayed here like a couple days, but no one talked to her. Nobody said a word to her. And I was like, hey, are you a student here? And she's like, yes. But she was like almost excited that somebody finally talked to her.
I was like a sad little like stray dog looking for someone to like pick me up.
I think what it was though is that you had literally been on your mannequin doing perm rods for like 3 days.
Yes.
And no one said, like the instructor just like left you there.
They weren't even looking at it.
And I was just like, you know, I was like, what are you doing? And you were like, oh, my perm rods.
I'm still on the perm.
And I was just like, but why?
Right.
Because it was literally 3 days.
Yeah.
So then I go, oh, just roll it. Just roll it like this. You're like, okay.
You were, I think, along the lines of like, just get it done.
Yeah, I was just like, get it over with.
Is what I needed to hear, because I could not get past the perfectionism. But
yes, and I was going to say, that was one thing that I did pick up from you, is this, you were meticulous. And I was just like, once I get tired of it, I was just like, it is what it is.
Right.
In school, not now. But I was just like, let's get to the fun stuff.
Right.
So what was your impression when I approached?
Well, I had noticed your presence quite a bit. You're very loud in a good way.
Oh, yeah.
And
in a bad way.
I thought we were going to be friends right off the bat, but it took a couple days. Yeah. And so he sees me doing my perm. He's like, what are you doing? And then I was like, are we going to be best friends forever? I really hope. And then from then on, we were. And
because we tried to do TikToks together.
Yes.
And I just really didn't
TikTok
get it.
First started.
I didn't. You were like TikTok. And I was like,
we were trying to get
and I didn't know that was a thing. And we like stood in the back, and then you had, I mean, you're not her enemy. She just had a distaste for you, and she was like, oh my God, that girl's always trying to do TikToks and stuff. But you were like trying to relate to her. And you were just like, you and your mom can leave me alone.
Oh. I mean, and that's all that needs to be said about that.
I mean, those are my words. You were gracious in all of it. I
tried. I didn't want to endure that place in pure misery.
So I'm trying to figure out how I dubbed you Lil Yip Yip, because there was one of rare occasion you had to like pop off.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like bad. You were just like, it was when those crazy people came in.
About the haircut.
And you were like, what did you say to the girl? It was after I left.
I told her, because she was blatantly lying to my face
and crying
about what was happening with another student. And I said, if there's one thing you're not going to do, it's lie to me. I was there. I heard the whole entire conversation as she's just bawling for no reason, because her haircut was wrong or something of that sort. We have so many of these types of stories. And I think what we kind of talked about was just like, that was what happened at that school. It just was kind of putting out fires left and right all the time, because, how do I say this? The leadership sometimes just wasn't present, and left to me and AJ really often.
It was
to
genuinely
do so.
a situation of you were going to sink or swim.
Genuinely.
Like once you had the basics down,
Genuinely.
like the basics, they were like, you're either going to figure it out or you're not.
Yeah.
And so this particular day, it's like the end of the school day, or it was like the end of like when I was having to leave, but it was still close to the end of the school day. So it was like this mom, this daughter, and like a kid.
Yeah.
Not even trying to be funny. I just didn't know what the gender of the kid was.
Yeah.
Just there was a lot of ambiguousness. Mm-hmm. So we start to figure, well, they sticking with two newer students. So we're all just like, this ain't gonna go good.
And let's be real. They're asking me to watch. I'm like, I'm like still new.
No, literally. I was like, I was probably the most like senior there
Yeah.
at the time. And I was like probably 8 months in, like maybe halfway in, but I'm like, I ain't no teacher.
No.
And the two that like wanted to do it, they didn't really have interest in her. Like they were trying, but it was just like, you're not gonna
Right.
stick with this. And one and quit soon after. But
Because probably of that whole scenario that afternoon. It was not pleasant.
so we knew it was a lie because it started off with this. They were like, the owner does my hair and his daughter does my hair. And we were like, they do about two people's hair and it's early in the morning and we'll never see them.
And one of them is not you. Period.
One of them looked like Bob Ross. Yeah, I said it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the other one. So
And wanted that haircut.
yes. So she had like 2 inches of hair. She said, to make my curly hair more manageable, I want you to cut it shorter and straight it.
A stacked bob.
A stacked bob on
Which-
2 inches of hair. And I'm like, child,
Like,
you
We
getting
can't
around
make
layers.
miracles. Like,
She ain't even want no pieces in. Nothing. So anyways, what happened was this little girl struggling through it. The other girl, I'm helping with the consultation. And she's like, I want it short, but not short. And I said, I don't even know what that means. Like I'm listening to this. And she goes, I want it to my shoulders, but not a bob. And I said, I don't know what that means. I said, do you have a picture? Mind you, her eyes are like closed the whole time.
she's crying.
Because
she's
I didn't
crying.
even know she got frustrated. I didn't know she was crying.
Yes.
So she's like, I think they have flip phones or something. But she
Something.
shows me like this camera phone picture. She's like, my hair was the best ever. It's her at a picnic and it's like her
Windy.
turning her head.
Right.
And it's blurry. And I said, I don't know what this haircut is. She was like, where is the owner's daughter? She knows exactly how I like it. She cuts my hair all the time. I said, no, she doesn't.
She doesn't.
In the 8 months I've been here,
doesn't.
I ain't never seen you.
No.
She's like, because I came years ago. So
We're
she's
like-
crying. I go to the front and I tell the owner's wife, who's like manning the whole thing at the time, I said, I don't have time for this
And you're out.
and I got to go to work. So
And you left.
weeks later, because there's more to your story, but I think there was some line in there where it's like, you're not going to tell me what my reality is
Right.
when I
Right.
know the truth.
Right. I was
thought that
I
was
was
a funny-
standing up for everyone in that place at that point.
That's
I
how you
was
got your
putting that
nickname.
place
You were like, I'm
on
not.
my back at that moment.
You carried it.
And for what?
You were the mule.
Beyond.
You carried Mary, Joseph, and Jesus to the manger. That's what it was.
In that
today.
moment, yeah.
Moments.
Yeah, thank you.
So to wrap this story up,
Because
this
you know
girl,
we're long-winded.
ain't no other wind to be. Colors of the wind. Shout out to Pocahontas. What Valerie said, who the F is this bitch talking about you? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I didn't even know the school had a Facebook page. We had like 3 of them, and some of them were fake. I get the longest review, and it was like, AJ is the worst stylist up at the school. He said he don't have time for me. I didn't even know she could hear me. And I said, no, I said I don't have time for this. And she was like, he was rude.
It wasn't Facebook, it was Google reviews.
It was something bad.
The first review. I remember that now. You didn't deserve that, by the
I
way.
didn't.
You,
I bet you
didn't
it's still
deserve
up.
a lot of things that happened at that school.
I'll tell you what I didn't deserve is me almost fighting 2 students at school. And let me just tell y'all this, my hands are bisexual because if you're a man or a woman, you can still get it. They go both ways.
Yeah.
But
Just don't look at you the wrong way. And don't look at anyone who's your friend the wrong way because you'll notice. You've got eyes everywhere.
So let's start with your perspective of when I almost fought purple-haired warrior.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Or snake bites. She had 2 snake bites. She just came in with different piercings. But anyways, it was a lovely day at hair school.
It was just the fresh morning, and I had just walked in. And I don't really quite know what happened, but I know there were looks exchanged without my knowledge. I didn't know what was going on because I was turned around. So I guess I got checked out from in a bad way, a negative way, a judging way. I don't really know because I didn't see it. But AJ brought it up, and then it started a full-blown war.
The way this transpired in a matter of probably like a minute and 17 seconds. So again, Emma always comes put together. That's who she is. And it just didn't resonate well with some people there. So one day, Emma's always minding her business. I'm always just in her, area like, girl, what we doing today? Blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Turn around. And this girl's like this. She said.
Her toolbox.
I said, don't look at her like that. And she said, what? And I said, I saw you. She was like, you're just an effing a-hole because I wouldn't even do it. And I said, I saw the way you were looking.
Yeah.
And don't get an attitude with me and act like you weren't. And she was like, you're just an a-hole, you MF or blah, blah. And like, we are fighting in the middle of school, like yelling. And I'm not yelling. And I said, if you have a problem, we can talk about it, but you're going to lower your voice or something to that effect. Next thing I know, she's like slamming all her stuff. And all I see is this purple, like charger, whatever, just peeling out. And I'm like, I hope your tires fall right the fuck off. She didn't come to school for a couple of days.
No, she didn't. And I think what that situation kind of started jokingly to what I, of knowing you, would have thought, oh, he's just joking. But for some reason that struck a nerve, and I'm not really sure why.
And I think, honestly, I did catch her, like, making, like, some sort of, like, just, kind of look. Because she and I hate to say it like this, but she wasn't my favorite. She just has a different style.
Yeah.
And I just didn't understand it. But we were at a place where we could be playful. And so it did come from a place of being playful for me. And I was just like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But we ended up making up.
You did. A couple of days later. She didn't come to school for like
she didn't.
a week after
they
that.
Like had to call her and they were like, are you going to come back to school? Like I don't think she ever really knew this, which she's thriving now in her own right.
Yeah.
But she's instructing there and she's leading people on a better path.
Yeah, I would agree.
And
I think she does a really good job too.
She does.
I think she's changed a lot about how she handles situations and is doing well to be an instructional
and very
role.
business minded because I read some of her posts and things like that. But
I think you and I both agree that we want the best for everyone at that school, no matter what we say. And sometimes our situations are negative, but it's not because of the building itself. Well, sometimes it was, but it's just because instructional leadership wasn't always there.
right.
And I think they struggled to get leadership during that time. We were in school during COVID. We had leaders in and out. It was just a hard time for everyone. I'm trying to be so nice.
I know, but I was like, the more you say these things, the more I'm having flashbacks. But I will say this, and I guess this is for anybody who is in the industry, because I will say that I do enjoy like being negative because I find humor in it. And so if it weren't for you kind of coming there and just coming in with your perspective of things, I think I probably would have become jaded.
Yeah.
Because you were just like, oh, it's not like you weren't even like, don't be like that. You're just like, okay, what if it's not like that? Or just like a different perspective. So I guess I would encourage anybody, just like wherever you are, whatever you're doing, make sure that you like link up with somebody that can help your perspective. Totally. You don't have to love what you're doing, but you can find something you like about it in the moment, because we had a ton of laughs, even in our like darkest moments.
Agree.
Because I'm like, the tape in girl, we talk about this all the time.
Both of us were crying.
Oh, I think I was
Taking
like
those
mad
tapes
crying
out.
And you were like, I'm about to be defeated. So a little bit of backstory. very grateful for Emma because she introduced me into the world of like hand tied extensions, tape-ins, this and that. Like, I'm just like, let's do a braided sewing and call it a day. I'm like, I don't know what these wefts are. These is rinky dink. They so thin. Ain't no hair.
So thin.
She let me practice on her. We gonna skip over this real quick, but I was afraid I wasn't gonna put her weave in right. She has swords in her head. I put it in so tight.
She said at least it didn't go nowhere. Grow out.
I just got to. We all start somewhere.
You do, and look at you now.
Look at me now.
Yeah. I think I have to agree on that because it really is, it makes the biggest difference finding someone who fills like your empty space. So yes, I saw it in a different perspective. You had a more jaded perspective just because of time being there as a student. So us coming together, it really was some of the most fond memories of my life. I had so much fun. I think just the lack of responsibility, just because we were students, not because we were careless, but yeah, we enjoyed just getting to be at school again. And I think because we're both older and we just really got to have a fresh start.
But then some of the older ones, I'm just like, ooh, why were they so mean? But again, too, attitude of gratitude. Emma brought like this like freedom to the school because I was just like, okay, they told me I can use these things or whatever. And she really branched out. She's like, let's try this color line. Like, let's do this. Like, have you seen that? And whatever. And it was really hard being her friend in school because they were actually really mean to you in the beginning. And then like, the truth is you really did earn a place in their heart. Like, I didn't have to work hard and I'm not like, oh, but it was just like, I was just like goofy and funny or whatever. And you came in very like determined and focused and you asked like really hard questions. Whereas I was like, I'll just figure it out on my own. And they would like sit there and be like, if you do that, that's on you. And it was just like very cold and blunt or whatever. But I'm like, we became like the beloved duo.
Oh yeah. We were the chosen ones a lot of times.
And
I don't say that lightly because I think we earned that title. We put in a lot of work that we didn't have to.
We fixed that.
Covering for students, helping students when we didn't have to. I fully think we earned it.
And it really did prepare us for like, I think troubleshooting because like, agree. It was a lot of us coming behind other students, trying to figure out what they did and then like make the best of it. Cause I'm like, we saw some horrible things. Horrible. And like, horrible. The students just like, I gotta go. And it's like, what do you mean?
It looks perfect.
And I'm like, what did you do? And they're like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that it makes us better, well-rounded stylists because of what we had to go through. It wasn't perfect ever, but also I can't ever slap the hand that feeds me now. Like it got me where I wanted to go. And I know you agree too.
100%, because I think without that freedom, I think what it is, my experience of listening to other people's hair school experience is that they were taught one way and we literally kind of, once we earned the trust that we could produce work, they really didn't care what we tried.
Totally.
Nobody left with like fried hair, except for the two women that unrelated did meth and then box colored their hair and it melted off in my foils in less than 7 minutes. And they told me to keep going.
Yeah, they didn't care. Can you imagine being so unfazed by your hair melting off that you just let your stylist continue?
And having to cut like 6 inches off. Brittle.
Having to. You have to.
Yeah, because I'm like, I can't even turn them around. I can't even like round brush it because it's so like all her hair's coming
melting
out in there.
It's just melting and cracking. Yeah.
Flying. It looks like a snowstorm. I got away from the most traumatic story ever. Beautiful girl. Pretty, college age, I believe.
Oh, mm-hmm.
And she was maybe getting her tape-ins off Amazon or somewhere.
Yes, yeah. That was when my mistake, honestly, was letting people do that. I would let people buy their own hair. And this was before I knew any better, to be honest. I would let people buy their own hair. They would bring it in and I would do it.
And it was her practice though, too, because I'm like kind of a little bit of how we bridge the gap is how I came to know Tracy was through you, and you took her
Yes.
class.
Yes.
So we kind of wish she was here, but you have to just
I know.
come back.
I
But,
wish she was, because she is a foundational point in my life.
yes, and then she was like, "Hey, I'm going to take a refresher class. She said you can come, like blah blah blah."
And then you couldn't come that day.
I think it got canceled.
Oh.
I feel like I couldn't come that day. Then she rescheduled. Then she canceled because like there was only
It
like
wasn't
2
enough
tickets
seats.
sold.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember that.
Which
now.
that's so it's hit or miss selling tickets. But anyways, I didn't know what tapings were. I think
I
this
didn't
is why
either.
I don't do them. But you had like a successful like 2 move ups
Yeah,
with this girl.
exactly.
And she like needed new hair. Take it away.
So, yes, she needed new hair. She brought the hair in, and we were going to install it.
And I loved helping. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't like this, but I will help you.
Yeah.
the whole
I
time.
think, honestly, as long as we were together, we just didn't care. Like, whatever project we had to work on, it was fine. But she brings her tapes in, and I had to take out her old tapes, which, if you do tape-ins, you know it's always a long process to take them out. So we get them started, and I'm like, there's something wrong with these tape-ins.
I mean-
They felt like they were glued in the hair with super glue. Like, I could not get them out with alcohol, conditioner. I was slapping anything
And to
on.
backtrack, I think this particular day, which was even more shocking, is you like sprayed them all.
Yeah, I let 'em
before-
soak.
You were like, let them soak.
Yeah.
And like,
Not one was coming out. I mean, I was truly terrified. It was probably the scariest moment doing
because the
extensions
sign
for me.
language, I felt like we were like those friends off of Bridesmaids where
Literally,
we just
we're
like
like-
talk with our eyes. And she's like looking and I'm like doing my thing. And I'm like,
Not panicking. Of course, he's not panicking. I'm panicking because I can't get one single tape-in out.
and again, as pessimistic as I am, I'm like, we can figure this out.
And I'm like,
So
no,
we're
we
like-
can't.
So we're like, she bought remover, which it smelled like roses or like cherries.
Something, I
It smelled
can't
like
remember.
Sally's or something.
Yes.
That doesn't work. Then we use
Nothing
alcohol.
worked. Oil,
Mind you,
conditioner, all of it.
this girl's hair is baby fine. So this is like the worst person for
The
this
worst.
to happen to. At one point you said, girl, where did you get these? And she was like, Amazon, I always did. And I'm sitting here like, again, probably the most strong person at the school, which wasn't
Yeah.
saying much at the time. But I cannot pry it
No.
open.
I can't even
like,
get it
at all.
peeled. Like one little corner.
We were trying to like cut
It
it.
was that bad.
We
That was for the lowest day of extensions for me. And then after
you
that,
swore them off.
after that day, I would never do tape-in extensions again.
How
no
did
matter
you
what.
eventually get them out? Because I mean,
I
like,
did. Just took forever.
yeah, like it just
Like
didn't.
ruined so many pintail combs.
She was almost crying too, because like we had to be honest with her, but she
Yeah.
was just like, "Is my hair gonna come out?" And you were just like,
Yes.
"Not if I have anything to do with it, but you might lose some because this is strong."
Yeah. And her hair was so fine. I had told her, I was like, I don't even feel comfortable doing tapes on you anymore. Like
Like, you
you
just
just
have to-
don't need them. Like your hair just needs a break. You need hand tied. And even the hand tied wefts weren't the best, but they were better than those tape-ins. That was awful. That was the worst day.
Because the worst part was like when we thought we had got a tape off, but it was literally just like the extension, and the tape was still sandwiched to
Yes,
her hair.
yes.
Because they all started coming off.
If you're a hairstylist, you know tape-ins. It was the tape. It was
And she was tender-headed. Or
was like-
we were pulling so much that she just was like, I don't think I can do this.
I don't blame her. If I were her, I would have been like, I'm gonna come back. We're done for
It
the
was
day.
literally like 6 hours.
It was all day. I didn't get to go to Tulsa to see my cousin because of it. Yeah.
And I had to
Speaking
leave
of
you.
extensions,
Yeah.
we've come a long way.
We are extension specialists
Yeah.
now.
I would say.
And I love that for us.
Yeah. Gone are the days of tape-ins.
The moment.
You're always so radiant. It's crazy.
Thank you. I need to see your girl. She got you glowing.
Oh, I know. She always
Shout out
says.
to that
Shout
beautiful
out.
baby.
I know. Shout out Courtney Wooldridge.
Hey.
Hey, girl. But yeah, extensions.
Okay.
And
let's
that's
do-
really how Tracy and I met.
Yes. I mean, stunning pictures as always, but I'm like, she was just like killing it out the park, and yeah. I was just like, I want to be you when I grow up. And I was like, huh? We're the same age.
Oh, how about that?
One of my favorite things is, and I don't know if this still stands today, And correct me if I'm wrong, one of your least favorite things to do is cutting hair.
Yeah. Still to
In
this day.
school. And I never realized I did this to Emma all the time. But sometimes when she really didn't want to do stuff, she'd be like, you can do it. And I'd be like,
Always.
no, you can do it. And I didn't realize that was code for I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
It was very rare. But there was like 3. I know there's 3 instances, but there was
The
one.
layered cut.
It was always the layers.
Mm-hmm.
It was always the layers.
Yeah.
There was one lady. She was like, I want this. And she like kept telling you what kind of layers you wanted.
Yeah.
And you just stood there with your shears and you go, I don't think
I can do that.
And you go, she was like, sure you can. You go, And then it was, remember
Yes.
the one that colored her own hair?
Yes, that's who it was, and she was so nice. But
She
she
was
was your client. So
Yeah,
that's
she
why
did. She came to me
in
once and-
school.
But mind you, when I did cut her hair, she liked it at first and then she hated it.
Always.
And then she liked it again. She was like, do what you did before. And I was like,
We can't take this whiplash. It was
I can't be
nuts.
going back and forth.
So that in many instances, I think in school I was just so scared. I don't even know why. I was scared to mess up, which
Yeah.
was the perfect place to mess up, if I'm being honest. But
And shout out to the school though too, because once they kind of learned us and our strong suit, they never booked us with something that we weren't
exactly.
wanting to do.
Yeah.
We could usually do it all, but they were just like, that ain't their kind
Yeah.
of client.
And they protected us a lot, I think,
They
from
did.
things that weren't going to be our expertise. And that is why I loved school so much, because I truly do think we got real world experience.
Oh yeah.
And without it, I don't think I'd be a confident hairstylist today. It
It's
would have
hard.
taken longer.
Reflecting back, I do like that sink or swim, because I'm like, you in a sense are out there on your own.
Yep.
And they were just like, we're not going to stand by you the whole time.
No.
And I didn't know how to appreciate that back then.
No micromanaging whatsoever.
I don't know why you
all.
were scared. Remember when there was a fucking tornado coming to the school and they
Oh,
were like,
yeah.
finish the people's hair?
Yeah.
We were like, we got to get up out of here.
I was like, is everyone hearing what's going on? Can we leave the building? No.
Literally, they were like, we've done hair with the power out. And we're just like, what?
Oh, with that lamp in the bathroom? That's what you're doing?
While the other boys who are
Played cards.
barbers played cards.
Well, we're all technically barbers. That's the thing.
Right. It was like, barbers don't do just men's hair.
Exactly. Well, you can do everything from the neck up.
From the neck up.
Yeah.
But man, I had so many, I had like 2 crushes on some of them barber boys.
It's kind of like, it's just like high school. Like you're dealt with what you get, it's just like that. So whoever's there became your new crush. I know.
There was some fine
What
ones.
got
Shout
away?
out. If y'all know that I'm talking about you, DM me. Anyways, this is why I say you shouldn't be that scared. Remember when I got chased in the school by Shaylee's client?
No.
You might remember it.
Or maybe
she
I
was
wasn't
like,
there.
can somebody wash this out of my hair?
Yes. And then she became my client, thanks a lot.
Oh, no. You like filled in and she loved you. And I was glad. But she thought you could do no wrong. But why did she come back? Didn't she say like that she went to a stylist, got like a highlight low light, paid all this money, and then we had to fix it only to get like a $5 tip. We're
Always.
grateful for whatever. But she was like, I think she was drinking beer or something. Like she was, or she had her kid at the salon, blah,
yes,
blah,
it
blah.
was that Saturday at the school when it was nuts and everyone was having to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And she was literally running around the school asking for AJ, saying, someone needs to wash my hair
She
right
said, this has been
now."
on my hair too effing long, blah, blah, blah. Dude, so here's what happened. There was this girl. She was trying new techniques. She was going to do, what do you call it? A tint between. So she was
Yes.
doing like the highlights and then she was doing her like root cover up. I didn't know what she did. And here was my mistake with her is I was too transparent. I said, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know what pattern she was doing. And she was like, that girl needs retraining. It was going to have my hair. And I
Yes.
said, color is only going to process so far. I said, we
Right.
just have to wash the lightener. Her foil weren't even processing. Like we were
No.
good to go. So I said, hey, I'll be back in 10 minutes to check on you. I'm checking on her. She just gets in her head. She starts walking around and she's like, where's AJ? Where's AJ? And I said, I'm right here. She goes, you don't think this needs to come out of my head? I said, I'm watching it.
Right.
And you're fine.
Right.
Then she just starts stomping around. All I see is Kate running around. She is like following me. And she was like, if you can't do it, get somebody to wash it.
And then she just sits down in the sink.
Yep.
Demanding.
I don't know who did it. And then from then on out, even though she wasn't my client at the time,
she came to me.
She came to you. She told me I over blonded her. Maybe I did. I don't remember that far. I try not to live in the past like that.
You shouldn't.
But then she told me she got a bunch of compliments.
Right.
She said, I was sitting at the bar and somebody hit on me. And I was like,
which one is it? Like, what do you want?
All the time.
Right.
But that still stands today. It's like, what do you want?
I think, no, they want you to lead them there. But they don't want what you want. I don't know.
Because they want your opinion and then they say no.
Exactly.
Or they want your advice and they're like, yeah, no.
I love all of that, but no.
Yeah. Let's just stick to what we usually do. I'm like,
that's the best part of a consultation, because if you do hair, like you can offer all the suggestions to get the answer, because the process of elimination will usually get you to what the client is wanting faster than you just making suggestions.
What you'll find is that you always do a mini consultation, whether you think
always,
you are or not. And if you're not, God bless you.
If you can get away with no consultation and you just have clients come and sit down, you're lucky.
Teach me your ways.
Please. I want to be a mind reader.
You will
so bad.
You will sell out tickets to your class if you do that.
For sure. Oh, Tracy, back to that.
Yes.
Okay, so it was COVID, 2020, and I had taken the extension class. Well, I was newly in school, and I came back and I was like, I'm so excited. I'm going to teach AJ.
You were like, AJ.
I was so excited because I was like, he is going to be my protege, and I'm going to make him do my extension.
I would come and visit you at Muse.
Yes, it was so fun.
We would practice stuff.
That was when I was a receptionist at a salon in Oklahoma City. And that's really how I got into doing hair. I wanted to do hair forever. But it just was later in life that it happened for me. And I'm super thankful.
And that's actually how I met Tracy in passing. I didn't even know who she was, but she just walked by me with all this hair.
She was there.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's who we need.
Yes. But yes, back to Tracy.
Yeah. Well, I also do influencing on the side. So I proposed to Tracy that I be her influencer. And this was a few years ago. And it was really fun. We had a great, successful collaboration, in my opinion. I hope she would say the same.
And I'm so glad you brought this up, because I'm like, you keep that part of your life a little low key. You don't hide it, but whatever. So this is one of my favorite stories, because I'm up here like genuinely like, oh my gosh, Emma, like you're my bestie. I love your mom. Duh, duh. And then one day, like usually we all go to like Old School Bagel, which is right by our school. But if you're from the area, then now I just gave away what school we went to.
No. Hey, they don't know.
But we go, or she goes, and she comes back, and you're just like a little like, and I'm like, what's wrong? You're like, well, mind you, you would like drop little things. You're like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna go here. You should come with me.
I wanted to assist Tracy for a while before I decided I did not want to assist starting out.
But you were talking about trips that you took, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like how do you do all these things? Duh, duh. And it was like part of your job.
And you didn't know?
No, this is how I found out, because she would like give me tips. She was like, you really should like work on your content. I said, what the fuck is content? And she was like on your page, like you should try and do it. And then she would like teach me how to like take pictures. All this is going on in my head. So she goes to Old School Bagel. She comes back and she's just like, and I'm like, what? So apparently somebody came up to your Old School Bagel and they're like, are you so-and-so? And you were like, oh yeah. Well, two of the boys were there and they were like,
unfortunately,
you're what, dude? And so they're like looking at your followers, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, what does this mean? And you were like, you don't know what like influencing is? And I was like, I have no clue what this is.
Yeah.
And it didn't change a thing, but I was like, oh, that's cool. And then like that opened my eyes to like a whole like different one. I was like, this is a job. Like this is a thing.
It is.
And then just like you told me about your history and like I was just like, this is my
She
best
kept this
friend
from
because
me.
she was like just giving me stuff that people would give their right arm. And she's like, here's a little trinket. Here's a little trinket. Thank God I
No,
never
good
rejected
for
it.
you.
I was like, whatever. But that is why I've paid attention to my page. And it really does pay off to like put effort into your social media
Totally.
presence. But I
What
was
you
just
say
like,
matters
cool.
for sure.
Yes. And
Yeah.
that was
I think
cool.
I kept it. I just didn't want to bring it up at that school. I felt like I already had a target on my back, like you had kind of mentioned. And so I was like, I just don't need there to be anything else or any other reason for conversation.
Well, and I feel like the impression that you kind of like alluded to is you said, I want to do hair on my own merit.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't want it because I have followers or people
Totally.
knew me or whatever. Because 100% you scouted all of your clients from hair school, like day when you said, I know what my target audience is. I know the hair that I want to do. And that's kind of where you got the pushback is you were just like, but these aren't the clients. Like, I will do it. But I was like, I'm trying to build from the beginning.
Yeah.
And so.
And to that, I would say if you are in hair school, because we've been talking about it so much, build your clients now. Like, do not wait another second. Build them before you can even take clients. Build them while you can, because that is the reason I have clients.
Yes.
I have a career because I started early, and I don't even think I realized it. I think I had a few clients in hair school that we've noted, but I also had a lot outside of hair school clients. I posted on Instagram all the time. I was like, I have openings this day, this day, and this day.
Yes.
And I have given that piece of advice to every single person I know who has started hair school because it's invaluable. You have to start early because once you're out, you have so much potential and you won't feel scared. Like, I have an empty book. I have an empty book. No, you don't. You won't.
You really don't. And the thing too is I think what I learned too is it's important to look busy. Even like
Totally.
you can be busy, but it's like you're not going to post every client that you do. And so I learned that you had to be consistent. And people will try and give you a schedule, but I realized for me, like it was just a certain 3 days a week and this and that. And I stuck to it. And people start to look forward to what you're going to put out there. And so it's just kind of like, don't kind of count on the client and then take their picture and post it immediately. Like actually kind of build, stock photos of work that, that you're proud of. And it's like, okay, if you do have a day that you're not doing anything, put that into kind of your presence and portfolio online, because that really is how you book.
It's your
clients.
everything. It's your lifeline.
Yeah, because even to this day, it's like there's still a lot of people that don't have social media, but you can kind of link things to it. And people are like, hey, can I see your work? And I'm like, here's my Instagram.
Yeah.
It's like, or like screenshot it or whatever. But yeah, those are like invaluable lessons. I mean, I learned about lighting, and it was like, it just all kind of came because you have to want to know those things too. And I didn't know how much I wanted to like learn. I was just like, I'm just going to do hair. But like you said, you start in school, and even if you're not that good at social media, post something.
Completely.
You will find somebody that recognizes the work that you do. But if that's not your strong suit, foster a relationship with the salon that you want to go to, one or two, because I was like, I knew that where I was going, for the most part, just was a good fit for me.
Yeah.
Because I thought we were going to stick together, but it was like, my lazy ass just didn't want to drive. Like, that was a key factor for me.
And I think we wanted to stick together so bad. And so it was hard because I knew AJ wanted to be part-time and I didn't have the choice to be part-time.
Yes.
He had his other job and he was going to do hair just whenever he could. I didn't know
literally
his
thought I was
schedule.
going to do it as a hobby. And that was like,
Yes.
it wasn't a bad thing, but that's just kind of where we differ. She was
Exactly.
like, this is like
This
what
is my
I'm trying
career.
to jump out and
Yeah.
be my career. And I was like, I just wanted to kind of satisfy a passion.
Yeah.
And then I was like, this isn't just a passion. This is
Yeah.
what I want to do.
And I told him that.
Yes,
It's
and I
so
was like,
funny now because
I'm all in denial.
I watched him do hair for so long and he was like, I just don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to quit doing his main job and do hair. And I was like, you know your answer.
Oh, she would just sit there and just roll her eyes at me
I was
in the
like-
cutest way. She'd just be like, because she was tired of talking to me about it.
No.
It was like broke. It was a broken
I just
record.
knew the answer. You just had to lead
I know.
yourself to it.
I couldn't see it at
Yeah.
the time, but
It's hard. It's hard though when you're in school because you're making no money essentially. It's really hard to branch out and realize like eventually one day it's not going to be this way, but you're so blinded by that. So him keeping his job was there was no other option at that point. Like
Yeah.
he wasn't going to do hair full time. He was going to keep part time and do his regular job to
And
keep
there
his
was so
income.
much transition. And you talked me through a lot of it. I mean, I don't even know how you did it because like you were just like doing your own thing and then some of your friends were going through a lot. And then I was just like in this relationship, which I'm grateful for it, always will be. But I'm just like, it was just like bad. And then I had just transitioned into like private practice versus like having like all this steady money. And I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. And she just was like clear. And I'm like, you must have been praying for me, girl.
Of course. Of course. I think it was, I knew you can always see someone else's potential better than you can see your own. And that's why I knew you wouldn't be doing therapy forever. And it just drained you anyway. And so I think the reason we split up is just because of that simply. And I wanted him to have the best fit, and I knew assisting Tracy would be that best fit for him. I wanted to do that in the beginning, and then I decided to go full time into doing hair because I wanted to make money. Like I wanted to get out there and I wanted to get my own booth and start going. And I knew you were waiting.
Your
for the
drive
right
was
moment.
just so much more intense compared to mine. And I think just kind of your focus was there. Yeah. And I think that was one of the things too, again, once we kind of built that relationship with the instructors and the teachers at school, they had so much faith in us because we were just like, oh my God. Like, and they were like, do you realize like what you've accomplished in school? Like, because we were like, we need to assist for like a year or something.
And they really
you
were
don't need to.
the ones who told me to not. And that is, at the time, I was like, whatever, like, you don't know, you don't understand. Like, it's different now. But I'm really glad I heeded that advice because I don't know what my life or career would have brought me if I would have assisted, but I do know I would have probably been more burnt out and having to work so hard without like really having time to take my own clients. It would have been a long process for me.
Well, I think that's a good kind of point to, I think you have to get feedback while you're in school of, you know, what somebody trusts was. Cause I will admit like my attitude towards some of the instructors, I was like, we didn't have like the same type
Goals.
of hair we like to do or things like that. So I was very resistant to taking some of the instruction. Like I wasn't like, I'm not going to do that, but I was just kind of like, that's not for me. But once I kind of trusted that they saw things that I wasn't able to see, I did take a lot of their advice because they just kept saying like, why would you want to do that? What are you scared for? Yeah. And, you know, once I got over myself and just really respected that their experience and their really brought something to the table that I should like listen to, you know, you do have to kind of decide, are you that type of stylist that does need kind of that assisted real world experience?
Totally.
Or are you kind of passionate enough to figure it out and produce good work? And it kind of shows while you're in school. Also too, it's kind of hard to find a good fit for school. It's like kind of once you commit to one, you really need to stick it through.
But I do think if you were not going to assist, we would probably both agree that continued education is going to be like your critical point. Hopefully maybe you find a salon home that offers in-house education. You find a senior stylist or someone who's older than you and been doing hair longer that you can maybe watch once a day. If you're going to not assist, I would highly recommend finding an alternative education route to continue at least for the full year.
Yeah, and I was going to say, pair up with people, again, that are like-minded, because what I loved is that we would have people that we would watch and follow all the time, and we'd be sending each other stuff saying, have you seen this? Let's try that. Introducing each other to other stylists that we maybe would have took longer to kind of discover. But again, to at least, I would challenge anybody, no matter where you are, even in school, you can take classes. I mean, there were people that were taking like lash classes and this class and that. The continuing education is what's going to almost kind of keep you from burnout in a sense. Like burnout comes from overworking yourself or but you need to kind of keep fueling your fire. I think that's a big thing, is that we continually, like if we just came to school and did hair, I think we wouldn't like it as much. But we just kept finding what we liked about hair.
Watching YouTube videos.
All the time. There's so much free education.
There is.
But I will say that like there is nothing like an in-person class, especially when you can look at some of your favorites currently.
Totally.
Because I mean, like, there are some that are my favorites where I'm just kind of like, I'm glad I saw that, and I've moved on to looking up toward other people, and we kind of talk about that a lot on the podcast. But whatever you're doing, just keep finding things to kind of feed yourself, because I think that's the key to kind of living a more full and happy life.
Yeah.
Like, it got all
And doing
sentimental.
hair and doing it in school. I miss the freedom and the time we had in school, because like we could watch YouTube videos, use our mannequins, and practice literally what we learned. And there's nothing stopping us from doing that now, but it's just harder now. It's not the same. So I the learning aspect in school is what you make it, and it's what you choose to really absorb. And shadow people while you're in school. When most schools are closed on Mondays, like find a stylist that you could shadow. And that will really fuel your fire, knowing like, hey, I am going to be in a salon like this soon. Like, this is amazing. Like, it's going to keep me going. And if you can do it like that, then you'll be excited for the future.
And kind of as we round this episode off, I would encourage people to, because it's just such a different eye opener. Watch people that they might not be your favorite. I don't say like you don't have to like them, but it's like watching somebody that you're not keen on, you can actually learn a lot, because in a weird way, you can turn kind of like your negative perspective on them. And it's like you're really critical. And you're like, oh my gosh, look at how they did that. Or like, I don't like to do Vivids, but I watch this girl do Vivids all the time.
Yeah.
And it was like one day I had to do a Vivid and I didn't want to turn them down. And I was like, it came in handy. I'm like, learn from everywhere.
Everywhere.
And that's just
Everything has a piece of information that you can take, because you can apply it differently. Just because it's a Vivid doesn't mean you won't use it for a balayage technique or something. Like, there's just always something out there. And while you can, just try to absorb everything.
Yeah, because there's a million and one ways to do the same thing. But, you know, once you pick up like one new technique and implement it, it's a game changer.
Totally. I agree.
We had so many more stories we could tell.
So many. Oh my gosh, I think we could talk all night.
We could. Thank you so much for being
Thanks
here.
for having me. It's been so fun.
It has been.
Yeah.
Thank
I'll
you
be
guys
back. I'll be
for
back.
joining on Memory Lane, Hair School.
And just
Horror
some
stories.
some scenty moments. Some
I
sentimental
know.
moments.
I kind of wanted to cry. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Emma, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We love you. Peace. Cut it out.